Let's talk to Molly Kingsley, who's from Us For Them, of course, founder of it, because a couple of stories have reached us today that we needed to seek her guidance on. The first being the World Health Organization trying to gain powers to impose a lockdown if they wanted to, if there was ever another pandemic on this great country of ours. Let's find out what that's all about. Molly, very good morning. Oh, good afternoon to you, I should say.
Good afternoon.
Nice to see you. Extraordinary story, this. It's in the Telegraph today. Conservative MPs have written to ministers to warn of an ambition evident for the WHO to transition from an advisory organisation to a controlling international authority. I mean, what is going on?
Yeah, I mean, it is extraordinary. And the most extraordinary thing about it is that actually, you know, the mainstream media, at least, apart from, you know, people like yourselves, Mike, are really quite late to the party on this. So this has been no secret. This has been in the works for months. The draft agreements are there. They're there for everyone to read. You know, we prepared a briefing note. I mean, it must be almost 3 or 4 months ago on this, as did other groups. And really, everyone's been quite asleep, I think. So it's really great to see it get this coverage. It's also great, actually, to see the government response to it. So, you know, the government have come back and said, well, actually, we're quite worried too. And they're right to be, because this is a really, really unprecedented land grab by the WHO.
Yes. And yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, they've been talking lately as well about pandemics and how, I think it was Dr. Tedros the other day who was saying, you know, we must be prepared for another one because there will be another one. And you're going, well, hang on a minute, you know, where are you getting that from? You're just making that up. You're just saying that there will be another one and therefore we must be prepared for it. Well, what do you even mean by that?
Yeah, and I think there's a few things to unpick here, Mike. So, I mean, I think, first of all, because, you know, I'm very conscious that some of your viewers may not be kind of fully all over the detail of the proposals. What the proposals do is they change what is currently, you know, guidance that the WHO gives, binding recommendations. And that includes binding recommendations over things like lockdown, you know, mandatory vaccination, quarantine, isolation, restrictions on travel, all that kind of thing. So according to the agreements as they're now proposed, the WHO would get the power to lock national citizens in their homes, to, you know, force vaccinate all of us, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing, as you say, Mike, is this focus on pandemics. So it wouldn't even be enough, it wouldn't even be necessary for there to be an actual pandemic for the WHO to exercise these powers. It would be enough that there was a threat of a pandemic. So these are vast, vast discretionary powers. I think just stepping back and thinking, you know, a bit more holistically, yeah, of course, you know, pandemics are a real health threat, but there are many, many other arguably more pressing health threats that actually we ought to be concerned about. You know, health isn't just about pandemic prevention. And we saw that, I mean, we've seen that, haven't we, with the results of lockdown? We got so focused on one aspect of health, we let everything else go. And, you know, just look at the kind of cancer backlogs we have. So I think the second thing is this idea of health is far, far wider than that. And I think the third thing is just, you know, you have to ask, who is the WHO to be granting themselves powers? So, you know, you have an idea that because it's a UN body, it's, you know, this democratic institution that lots of member states contribute funding to. Well, actually, the truth is very far from that. So 80% of the WHO's funding comes from private sources. And when those investors fund into the WHO, they effectively get to dictate the terms of their investment. So, you know, it's got profit-driven organisations sitting behind it. And I think for all these reasons, the thought that we grant it these vast powers is just insane.